nanach, nachman, meuman. O trust. There was once a king who said to himself, can there be anyone with fewer concerns than I have? I have everything. Can there be anyone with fewer concerns than I have? I have everything and am a king and ruler. So he went to search if there was. He went about by night and stood behind the houses to listen to what people were saying. He would hear each one's troubles. Business is not going so well for this one. Or from another's house he would hear about troubles that require social support, the help of the king. That was the king, and so on with the troubles of each and every one, and so on with the troubles of each and every one, and so on with the troubles of each and every one. Eventually he came to a house that was below ground level, with windows just above the ground, and its broken roof falling in. Inside though, he saw a man singing and playing a fiddle. He had to listen closely. He had to listen closely. He had to listen closely to hear the man's voice. But it was full of joy. But it was full of joy. There was a bottle of wine sitting next to the foods laid out before him on the table. The man seemed to be extremely happy. Oh, the man seemed to be extremely happy. There was a bottle of wine sitting next to the foods laid out before him on the table. The man seemed to be extremely happy, filled with joy, and having no worries at all. The man seemed to be extremely happy, filled with joy, and having no worries at all. The man seemed to be extremely happy, filled with joy, and having no worries at all. The king knocked at the door, and the man let him in. After exchanging salutations, the king reflected upon the wine and wide selection of foods on the table, and how filled with joy the man was, and how filled with joy the man was. The man honored the king with drink. The man honored the king with drink, and the two of them drank together in camaraderie. Later they went to sleep, and the king saw how the man remained fully joyous, without any worries. In the morning, after the two of them arose, and the man accompanied the king out, the king asked him, how do you afford all of this? I am a general repairman. I am the great fixer! I am the great fixer! Oh yeah, I am a general repairman. Oh yeah, I am a general repairman, said the man. I cannot make anything on my own, but I can fix broken things. I cannot make anything on my own, but I can fix broken things. I go out every morning and fix a few things, and after I have earned enough money, say 5 or 6 rubles, I go and buy all this food. When the king heard this, he said to himself, I will ruin this for him. So he issued a decree that anyone with anything to fix should not give it to someone else to fix. Either he should fix it himself, or go out and purchase a new item to replace it. Or either he should fix it himself, or go out and purchase. Or go out and purchase a new item to replace it. Later that morning the man went out in search of things to fix, but was told that the king had decreed not to give anything to anyone to fix. The man was disappointed, but trusted in God. So he walked around until he found a landowner who was cutting down trees. Why are you cutting down trees yourself? yourself? Why are you cutting down trees yourself? He asked him, is this not below your dignity? I looked around for someone to cut down the trees, but found no one, so I was forced to do it myself. I looked around for someone to cut down the trees, but found no one, so I was forced to do it myself. The landowner answered, give me the axe, give me the axe, give me the axe. Let me do it, and let me do it, the man said. So he cut the trees, and the landowner gave him a ruble. So he cut the trees, and the landowner gave him a ruble. Seeing that this was a good idea, he went around cutting down trees for others until he had earned 6 rubles. Then he went and bought himself an entire meal, a meal that was worthy of its name, a meal that was worthy of its name. Ba'asuda hi suda. Oh, in the suda is given a suda. In the suda is a sida. The Suda is a Suda, a meal that was worthy of its name. That night the king went again to look into the man's window and saw that he was again sitting at his table with drink and food before him and rejoicing. Again the king knocked on the door and was let in. And the same thing happened as the previous night. He again slept there overnight. And when the man accompanied him about, he again slept there overnight. Nanach, nachman. He again slept there overnight. And when the man accompanied him out, the king asked him again, how do you afford all of this? How do you afford all of this? It must cost a lot of money. I used to fix broken things. The man said, but after the king decreed that no one should give anything to anyone to fix, but after the king decreed that no one should give anything to anyone to fix, I cut down trees until I had earned enough money for the years. So the king went away and issued a decree that forbade hiring anyone to cut down trees. Nanach, nachma, meuman. When the man later approached people to cut down trees, he was told. When the man later approached people to cut down trees, he was told that the king had issued a decree forbidding the hiring of anyone to cut down trees. The man was disappointed, for he had no money. But he trusted in God, So he trusted in God, So he went around until he saw someone cleaning a shed. Why are you cleaning this shed yourself? So he went around until he saw someone cleaning a shed. Why are you cleaning this shed yourself? He asked him. Shed, place where the animals are. That's a better word for it. Stable, not stable. You hold it like a bunch of sheep. Or goats. Why are you cleaning this shed yourself? He asked him. I searched around for someone to clean it, but found no one. So I was forced to do it myself, he answered. Let me do it for you, the man said. So he cleaned it for him and earned 2 rubles, with which he again purchased an entire meal. So he cleaned it for him and earned 2 rubles, with which he again purchased an entire meal. He returned home to a meal worthy of its name. And rejoiced. The king again came around and saw all of this, and again came in. And when the king left the next morning, he issued a decree forbidding the hiring. He he issued a decree forbidding the hiring of anyone to clean sheds. When the man later went out in search of a shed to clean, he was told that the king had decreed to forbid it. He was told that the king had decreed to forbid it. So the man went and enlisted. So the man went and enlisted in the army. So the man went and enlisted in the army. So the man went and enlisted in the army. He went to the ministry that hires soldiers, for there are soldiers that are obligatorily obligatorily drafted into the army, and others that are hired. For there are soldiers that are obligatorily drafted into the army, and others that are hired. And when he hired himself as a soldier, he stipulated that this was not a steady job, but on a per day basis, and but on a per day basis, and that he would be paid his wages each morning. He immediately was given an army uniform. He immediately was given an army uniform. Nanach, nachma, nachma, meuman. He immediately was given an army uniform. He immediately was given an army uniform with a sword at his side and sent wherever he was needed in the evening after a day's work. In the evening after a day's work, nanach, nachma, nanach, nachma, nachma, meuman, nanach, nachma, nachman, meuman, nanach, nachma, nachman, meuman, nanach, nachma, 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 meuman, nanach, nachma, meuman. Nach, meuman. In the evening, after a day's work, he threw off his uniform and went and purchased. He threw off his uniform and went and purchased a meal and returned home to a meal worthy of its name, rejoicing. Again the king went and saw everything laid out before the man who was rejoicing. Went in, slept overnight, asked him in the morning, and the man told him the whole story. When the king went away, he instructed the ministry not to pay anyone that day from the treasury. When the man later went to the ministry to be paid for the previous day, he was refused. But I stipulated with you to be paid each day, the man argued. But the king has decreed not to pay anyone today. But the king has decreed not to pay anyone today. He was answered, and all the man's arguments were to no avail. Finally, I will pay you tomorrow for the 2 days. Finally, I will pay you tomorrow for the 2 days. But today, it is impossible to pay you, he was told. So what did the man do? He went and broke off the blade of the sword and glued a piece of wood in its place. So that it was not evident, at all. From the outside, he then went and pawned the blade and bought himself a meal worthy of its name. Again the king went along and saw the man rejoicing as always. And again went in, slept overnight, asked him in the morning, and the man told him the whole story, how he was forced to break off the blade of the sword and pawn it off in order to purchase the meal. And when I am paid tomorrow for yesterday's work, I will go and redeem it and fix the sword in a way that it will be completely indiscernible. For I can fix anything that is broken. The government will suffer no loss in this account, he told the king. When the king returned to his palace, he sent the ministry instructions to Kaval specifically for this man who had hired himself as a soldier to come and behead a man, condemn him to death. The man was called for, and he came before the king. The king called for all of his ministers to come and enjoy this comedy of a man having substituted a piece of wood for a blade. But the man fell at the king's feet and begged, "My master, the king, why have you called me to behead this man who is condemned to death?" The king said. "To behead this man who is condemned to death," the king said. "But I have never shed any blood my entire life," begged the man. "But I have never shed any blood my entire life. But I have never shed any blood my entire life," begged the man. "Please call someone else to do it." Oi, but the king insisted. Please call someone else to do it. But the king insisted that specifically he must do it. He must do it. That specifically he must do it. Is the ruling absolutely clear? Meuman, is the ruling absolutely clear? The meuman asked. Is the ruling absolutely clear? The meuman asked. Is the ruling absolutely clear? The meuman asked. Perhaps he is not liable of being put to death, and I have never shed blood in my life. All the more so that I should shed the blood of someone whose guilt is not certain. All the more so that I should shed the blood of someone whose guilt is not certain. But the king answered him that the ruling is certain, that he is liable of being put to death. That he is liable of being put to death according to the law. So now, specifically, he must carry out the sentence. The man saw that he could not influence the king, so he turned to God and said, the man saw that he could not influence the king, so he turned to God and said, Almighty God, Almighty God, Almighty God, Almighty God, I have never spilt blood in my life. 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 So if this man is not liable of being put to death, so if this man is not liable of being put to death, may the blade of the sword turn to wood. May the blade of the sword turn to wood. With that, he drew out the sword from its sheath, and everyone saw that it was wooden, and there was an uproar of laughter. And everyone saw that it was wooden, and there was an uproar of laughter. And there was an uproar of laughter. The king saw what a good man he was. The king saw what a good man he was, that he was such a man. The king saw what a good man he was. So he sent him on his way in peace. He saw that he was such a man. He was a man like this, such a man. The king saw what a good man he was. So he sent him on his way in peace. So he sent him on his way in peace. So he sent him on his way in peace. Nach, nachman, meuman, nanach, nachman, meuman, nanach, nachman, meuman, nanach.